So maybe a first clarification. I love my CEO, okay, but it's not to the point where I'm wearing the same sneakers or else. So it's just because we are big fan of Allbirds, our customers. So some.
We talked this morning about matching outfits.
Yes. So let's talk about Mikkel, but a little bit before. We are always talking about Mikkel, so let's talk about me first. So I'm Rachel. I'm French, as you can hear. I've been acquired by. So I co-founded my own software company, SaaS, cloud, business intelligence, pioneer, etc., etc. I've been acquired by Zendesk 2 years ago, and just maybe that it could resonate for all of you. I created this company from the south of France, so it can happen and it can work. We were 2 co-founders, married couple. It happens as well and it can work. So just to reassure you, I have a financial background, but I was able to start a tech company, so that can work as well. And we've been acquired, and now we are part of the Zendesk family. Super glad to bring our technology to Zendesk. And well, so maybe it can resonate for you, and I hope so. Mikkel, now your turn, okay? It's all about you.
I just want to say that so as you know, like Zendesk is a company that deals with kind of customer service, customer engagement, and part of the product that Rachel and her company built was this tool for visualizing and understanding your data much better. And like our approach to that was really like helping our customers get much better customer intelligence. Like when you get all these, like when people reach out to you with all these questions, all these concerns, all these different things, how do you actually get like signal out of the noise? And this is one of the things that, you know, Rachel's company helps Zendesk build. Like how do we actually build much better understanding of the data? So it's remarkable that, you know, once we go down that path and think about like how do we do that as a company, and then we run into a small startup in Montpellier. In southern France. How many here even know where Montpellier it is?
Everyone.
No, like one hand, yeah. And it's remarkable, you know, and it's also like we go have good wines and it's amazing. But it is really like the startup ecosystem truly is global. And like you can build amazing startups everywhere. There's fantastic talent everywhere. And it's a small world today, you know. You can take a plane, get everywhere, and you have customers everywhere, and you can find them all on the internet. Yeah. I just did a presentation around how for most startup founders it's hard engaging with your customers because we are more, typically a startup founder, you're more like a product person than you are a customer person. And like one of the things we talked about is like your product doesn't yell at you.
No, but your customer, yes.
And it's much harder with customers because customers are much more honest and direct, and they yell at you. So it's kind of the gut reaction of a startup is to focus much more on your product than focusing on your customers, which sometimes can be really, really bad because you don't learn really what brings your company product forward if you don't really engage with your customers. So for us, when we built Zendesk, it was hard kind of changing from being introvert to extroverted like that and enjoying actually engaging with your customers. But that was one of the things that was fantastic about your situation too, is that you had that background where you kind of, I wouldn't say, you call it, what you described yesterday as being constantly slapped in the face.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not saying that you enjoyed that, but I'm saying that you embraced it at least.
Yeah,
that
you have to get out of your comfort zone early on with your prospect customers, taking slaps into your face. And but getting out of your comfort zone for me, it means also to speak English to your international customers, for example. It's not easy. Slaps in English, it's not easy at all.
Being slapped in the face in English is much harder than, it's much less charming than being slapped in the face in French. Yeah.
But we grew up internationally, so it's something that we grew up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we have a lot of questions that our PR has prepared for us, but we're willing to take this anywhere you want to go. Anywhere.
First one.
And like we have questions, we have microphone holders, there are prizes, we got it all.
We just need one question from our PR to make them happy.
One question, okay.
No.
Yeah, I was really impressed by your presentation, and then I have a question about the how the engaging the customers like opinion is so important. Like that was my understanding. And then so when you are in the early stage in the startup, like of course you could see to listen to the customers like a face-to-face basis. But after you scale out as a CEO, it could be hard to talk with every single customers. And then how did you change the sort of like a method, or how did you change the way to listen to the customer's opinion?
Well, I think a lot of the tactics are still the same. Like really like understanding all the feedback that comes in. And now, of course, we have processes and systems in place for making sure that we get the right data out, and we use data intelligence and all these tools for kind of better understanding it. But like me going out and meeting with customers is still like super critical. Like yesterday we met with the CEO of MailChimp, guy, Ben Chestnut. He's in town these days, and he told us like he's going to spend his entire day today talking to customers. So he's going to visit 10 customers in San Francisco, small customers, large customers, and just like listen to them and like understanding them. And I think that's, like MailChimp is a big business, it's a really big business. And like that's still like core tenant for them to go out and engage with their customers like that.
Did you give your phone number? To how many?
In the early days, I gave my phone number to everybody. Yes.
Are they
now,
still?
Now I give my phone number to nobody. Nobody's like, if you get my phone number, I want something from you. Do you still give your phone number?
I am still called. Yeah. For. And sometimes it's a big surprise. I'm supposed to deal as soon as possible with the problem, and
especially in the early days, and like your customers don't know where you live, or like they don't know what time zone you're in. Like
exactly. But it's some cost to pay,
Yep.
But it's the price to grow, also to really understand your customer. So it comes with some this kind of problem. Years after, you are still having those early customers. Sorry, but I think it's good. Do you have another question? Any other question? Oui.
Can you hear me? Oh,
yes.
Thank you. Hi, guys. I'm Jan from Hamburg, Germany.
Hello, Europe.
Hello, yes. So we are in the business of building a SaaS B2B software ourselves. Now, Zendesk is very successful internationally. So my question is, how did you manage to expand internationally? How did you decide which markets to go into, and how did you decide how to tackle those markets?
Well, I think that, and you can talk to that too, Rachel. I think that your company also had like it's relatively international customer base. Today, Zendesk has about half our business approximately outside of the US. And it's always been like that. Like the US in itself is an incredibly interesting market. It's huge, it's large. There's a lot of early adopters, first movers, all these different things. Like US is a really, really interesting market. But there's a big world outside of US. And I think part of it was just the international mindset. We came out of a small country. We didn't think about near markets or local markets. We had to think about it's a global market. The other reason is just the internet. Like if you build a company on the internet and you think about like how can people all over the world use this product, and you don't create it or theme it for like a specific region, a specific culture, a specific way of doing business, but just like look about what are all the main characteristics for everybody. Like in the world of customer engagement, customer service, good customer service is kind of almost the same, or the fundamentals are very much the same all over the world. So we try to make it we try to find a global language, a language that could work everywhere. And that meant that in the early days, customers came to us from all over the place, and we didn't target specific regions or anything like that. As you grow your company, you have to figure out what it takes to localize, and we have these maturity models where we look at what is the organic adoption in the country, and can we stimulate that through marketing, local customer service in local language, local services, local website, all these different things. So we go through this maturity model, but in the early days, it was all about just making it available for everybody. I think you had the same approach, Rachel.
Yes, we've been acquired 6 years after the creation of our company, and after 6 years, we were only generating less than 25% of our revenues from France. So since the beginning, it was international at first, but it was mainly due to the market of cloud business intelligence, where the US was much, the US market was much more open with less psychological barriers regarding data in the cloud, etc. So it was also a matter of maturity of certain markets. But we wanted to stay in France for lots of personal reasons. And what we did is that we some sort of incubated internationally. So I don't know if you know what I mean, but it was about, having US guys, UK guys, Mexican guys, Finnish guys, German guys joining us in Montpellier, in the south of France. So we were at least able to serve our customers in the right English, in the right native languages. So it was a way for us to really grow at low cost also our business, until we had to move to the US with a team, because cloud is fantastic, but there is still the time zone and yelling customers, that you have to answer at the right time, and weekends and nights. That's okay in the early stage, but well, it's not professional. So we had to move in the US at some point.
Hello, my name is Emna. I'm from Tunisia. I'm the founder of Vimly, and I have two questions. One taking to the past and one to the future. And actually, you might be able to answer the first one as well. But can you tell us a little bit about product market fit? Like how long it took you to know you had product market fit, and what did that mean? Like how did you define it? That's the first question for both of you. Second question is, now you're a global company, which is incredible. We all dream of that. And you IPO. So what is the next big milestone for Zendesk? That's it. Thank you.
Well, product market fit, it's and yeah, it'll be good to hear how you thought about that too, Rachel. But initially we built it all from gut, and we were in an industry where these typical customer service systems were just miserable, and it was built for a previous generation. And we just thought, how can things be so complicated? And just so many things around how these products were built just represented a completely different mindset around customer service. And the systems were clunky, took forever to implement. And so we had this notion, we just wanted to build something that you could hit the ground running with, and then you could think about the customer experience. I think we didn't know that much about the market. It was ridiculous how little we knew about the market. We knew nothing about the competitors, nothing. I think 2 years after we moved to San Francisco, oh, that Salesforce also has a product for this? We're like, oh, no, we didn't. So it's we were not a business plan was not our strength, But we were very fortunate with the timing, because how we thought about engaging with customers, we figured out that represented a whole new generation thinking about how to deal with customers online. And we were right at the cusp of this big shift from customers with somebody that mainly were offline or in the real world or through the phone, to somebody where the majority of your customer interactions are online. So we mentally we're already there, but the rest of the market wasn't. But it turned out that that's actually how the market evolved. So we didn't know about fit. We knew that once we saw that, we doubled down on it, and our customers really guided us, because they talked us through how they thought about engaging with customers online, and that helped develop the product where it is today. But in the early days, you do a lot of small little pivots to kind of figure out where does the water run and how do you run with the water. I don't know, when you build an analytics company.
KPI is about your traction, your growth, and your expansion from current customers. Can it be something like market fit for you? Is it a proof of that? Those kind of
I think
KPIs?
once you see things taking off, that's the, by the end of the day, it's all about getting customers. This thing about, oh, we have all the features and so on. If the customers don't use it, it doesn't matter. So it's all about just once you can start, you see that your customers become successful with your product, and they start running with it, and they start using it on your own. You understand that something is working, and then you can double down on it. In our case, it wasn't more complicated than that. You're in a more complicated space with the whole.
We are where we were. Our competitors were mainly traditional big guys, SAP, Oracle, etc. traditional business intelligence, huge guys. And it was when we launched our cloud-based service. It's a time where all those big guys were acquiring themselves, So there were some highways, boulevard for innovation, and they were stuck into all those acquisition, So it's a time where the young, cloud BI vendors started to pop up. We were part of them, and it was, we were at the right time, at the right, maybe not location, but at least at the right time. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't underestimate the importance of luck with regard to timing and all these things. Yeah. There's so many things that it can be really, really hard to predict. So being fortunate with the timing, of course, it takes hard work to get there. Is because, like, the better you can time it with like some kind of change in how you use tools, the better. And I think everybody who's in the B2B world of software right now, there is a big shift coming, which is a huge opportunity. Like, when do we see the actual inflection point of that? Like, going from the kind of the traditional platform vendors to start using the public clouds as big platforms for development for enterprises. Like, we are in the beginning of that, and that's gonna disrupt the entire industry. And like the B2B software industry is like hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars. Like, we're approaching like $1 trillion in B2B software out there, and like that whole market is gonna change radically over the next 3, 4, 5, 10 years. So the timing of being a B2B company today is incredibly interesting because there's a big shift coming. And like, so you should never underestimate the importance of being lucky with the timing there.
Any other question? Pardon. Oui,
the next. It's a lot of execution. That's a lot of execution.
Hello?
And like we want to be. We've set out a milestone. We want to be like $1 billion revenue company by 2020, and that has a lot of implications to how we think about products, how we think about operations, how we think about our customer base, and so on. So like we it's a lot of growth. We're still like a very fast growing company. We grew 40% from 16 to 17, 4-0, and we're gonna continue to grow like that. So we're still like mentally, we're still like a startup because everything is changing all the time. But at this scale, it requires a lot of discipline to scale so quickly, or to scale so hard. So it's really like we've got our seatbelts on because it's gonna be a little crazy.
5 minutes.
Hi. So most of us are probably not from the Bay Area and either just moved to the Bay Area or are planning to move in the future to the Bay Area with a startup or something. So you talk about this on your book, but if you can give us some tips about what's your experience, and both of you, about moving here, networking and everything. Thanks.
Well, it is interesting because, like, I think if you are from the San Francisco, the Bay Area, from Silicon Valley, like there's a lot of things you take for granted, that there are conferences like this all the time, and you can always, there's accelerators around every corner, and there's all these different things, and there's so much money, there's so much money to raise here for VCs. Like, you kind of get used to that ecosystem. You kind of get used to that working in a startup is a real job. You know that from Europe. Like, it's not a real job. It's like people are looking at you. Oh, you work in a startup? So you couldn't get a job, or what's going on? Well, it's not. Like, you don't have a startup industry in Europe. It's changed a lot over the last 10 years. You start to have a startup ecosystem and so on, right? For example, Rachel is the president of something called France Digital, which is an organization that basically helps kind of figure out, like, we need to provide a better environment. We need to provide a better community around startups in France and in Europe, for that matter. And it's really, really hard. Like, it's really, really hard to mentally get Europeans to think about startups as an industry. And that is what is so incredibly unique about San Francisco, Silicon Valley. That is, you're kind of a big deal, even though you're working in a startup. Like, startups are one of the key industries in California, alongside wine and gaming and entertainment and porn. Like, it's like startups, like, it's a real job.
The size of the ecosystem is unique. We are all trying to reproduce this, in Europe, for example, in Paris. There is plenty of initiatives, and that's great because it means that we are more and more able to create unicorns. I don't know if you're still using this buzzword here, unicorn. Well, anyway, so in Europe, but as a matter of fact, the Silicon Valley is really unique from an opportunity standpoint. Yeah, it's difficult to catch up, with this.
Hi, I have a specific question about engaging with customers. So, I mean, every customer will call you up and say, oh, we have this issue and we need it to be resolved immediately. So how do you prioritize who to work with first?
But it's like, I don't have a simple answer to that. It's really important to be able to say no. That's super important. I don't have a good answer here. But I think what matters even more when you have that conversation, you have to figure out a way of building trust in that conversation so that they understand that you take it seriously and that you understand their concern, but also that either this is something that you can do now, do later, or never gonna do, but then you're gonna help them some way figuring out how to do it themselves. And it's just I think you can never do everything that customers want you to do, but you can build a process and a system where it becomes transparent what you can do and what you can't do, and that you involve your customers in it so they understand why. It's not a binary outcome. It's never yes or no, but it's about them understanding that why you say yes or why you say no. I know that's a terrible answer. I don't have a better one. Do you have a better answer, Rachel?
No, about whether you say yes or no, it's super difficult to say no, but you have to.
Yeah.
You have to. It's when you are in the early stage, and that some customers, when you have no money and you have to prove yourself that you are able to generate revenue for your team, for yourself, for your maybe partners, VCs, and that you have a customer who said, "Oh, I give you a 5-digit check if you are." Developing this feature, but it's completely out of your roadmap. That's super complicated to say no, but you have to, or you're not growing.
Is there room for one more, or was that it?
That's time.
That was time. All righty.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, everybody.